Hello, folks. Sorry for the delay here tonight. Some scheduling conflicts on the stream, but we're here now doing a live Patriots mock draft. We're going to do the first round, or the top 15 picks, I should say, and then we're going to screw around a little bit with the PFF mock simulator and go through some different scenarios here tonight. If you're looking for our final mock draft for the Patriots 7-rounder, that will be on Tuesday next week, right before the draft. But tonight, Alex, we're going to get into some scenarios in the top 15 picks, talk about some trade ups, things like that, and where other teams might be looking to kind of just get an idea of what the Patriots might be looking at with the first 14 picks before they are on the clock.
Yeah, because, there's a lot of conversation with this right now. And what do they do if X player falls, if Y player falls, right? I think when I was running some simulations earlier, like I had a chance on multiple simulations to take Patrick Surtain at 50. And I don't think that's realistic, but I think there's certainly a path to it. So we're just going to kind of dig. Right. We're going to kind of dig into that. And then we're going to do some other ones where just kind of test, I think it might be fun. We're going to test our knowledge of the prospects and handcuff ourselves and limit ourselves to the players we can pick and see how well we can do with those limitations.
Yeah, so we'll let Alex drive that one because I know he's got some crazy ideas in his head of his over there. And we're going to see now what we can do with the first 14 picks in the draft and sort of just talk about, like I said, things that we've been hearing, the way that this might play out. I can pull it up now. I think we can basically make the first two picks already.
Yeah, you want to just jump right into it here?
Yeah, we can jump right into it, and we can just make the Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson picks right here at the top of the draft.
And boom.
Okay, so here we are on the clock with the 49ers at number 3. Obviously, the name that everybody is sort of talking about here is Mac Jones out of Alabama, the quarterback, being the pick. And the one thing that I read today, so I've heard this as well, that Mac Jones has just absolutely killed it in the interview room this offseason in the pre-draft process. People in the NFL, scouts, decision makers, calling Mac Jones one of the smartest prospects they've ever spoken with at this point in the draft, in the pre-draft process. And that's sort of what I think the 49ers are being sold on here by head coach Kyle Shanahan. I truly believe that Mac Jones is Shanahan's guy. I think the front office and the scouts and the John Lynch's team are sort of trying to get him to be open to other ideas like Justin Fields, for example, or Trey Lance. But I think that Shanahan is confident that Mac Jones is the guy for him, just the way that he can be machine-like within the pocket, within structure of an offense. I still find it so hard to believe that they gave up all of this to move up for Mac Jones. But I think there's too much smoke at this point for me to make any other pick besides Mac Jones here. Alex, do you agree?
I still, Justin Fields just has so much raw talent. And everything you just said about Mac Jones, I can see that resonating with Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
I just think at a certain point, somebody from the front office has to go down to his office and slap him in the face and say, you got to go with the generational talent that's on the board. Yeah. So, look, I don't want to say it. How do I phrase this? Kyle Shanahan's done dumb things in the past. Certainly. Lost 2 Super Bowls for his teams. I think that his 2 Super Bowl losses, he carries a large amount of the blame for those. So I'll believe it when I see it when they take Mac Jones. I really don't think there's a chance, but it's also Shanahan, so I buy it. So
I think the biggest reason why, and just to wrap this point up about the 49ers, because I think this is the most important junction point of the draft for the Patriots, because San Francisco, to me, is going to like the same guy that the Patriots do, whether it's Mac Jones or Justin Fields. I think that those two organizations are like-minded, and I think they're going to feel the same way about whoever the quarterbacks are that are available to them. So I think the other thing with Mac Jones, and I'm not saying that Justin Fields or Trey Lance don't check this box, but with Mac Jones in particular, I think Kyle Shanahan wants to have a quarterback like we used to see with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in those Football Life documentaries, where they're both sitting in the room with the clicker, with their notebooks out, talking scheme, talking ball, talking philosophy, talking players on the other side of the football that they're going to go up against that week, and just sort of guys that are gym rats and are just sort of obsessed with the game. And I think that that's the vibe that people are getting out of Mac Jones. And that's why, even though the physical tools are nowhere near up there with Justin Fields and Trey Lance, the fact that he is one of those guys that wants to work and wants to grind and wants to watch film and wants to study up on his opponent every single week, I think that that's a real big reason why that Kyle Shanahan and the Niners have fallen in love with Mac Jones. So if you don't have any objections, Alex, let's make Mac Jones here.
I like being right. I don't think Mac Jones is the right pick for San Francisco, but I think he's the pick San Francisco makes.
Yeah.
So there. You mind if I take the lead on this next pick? Because you just mentioned that the third pick is kind of what the draft hinges on for the Patriots. I think the entire draft hinges on this fourth pick. And I actually think the fourth pick, specifically for the Atlanta Falcons, is the best spot to be in this draft, because Atlanta's kind of in between. Do they want to get the rebuild started and prepare for life after Matt Ryan? Or do they want to give it one more shot, knowing that they have, I think we can still call Matt Ryan a top 10 quarterback. He's probably closer to 10 than 5, but I think we can still call him a top 10 quarterback. So and they can trade it. They can trade out too, but they're going to have the choice of 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks or the best player on the board that's not a quarterback, or to trade. I actually think Atlanta makes this pick, and I don't think they take a quarterback. I think Atlanta is going to go for one last shot with Matt Ryan. And in order to do that, they need help in the secondary. In that division, if they want to make a run this year, they need upgrades specifically to their cornerbacks. Patrick Surtain is so good and so NFL ready. I think he just makes so much sense for them right here. So I like Surtain at 4 for the Falcons.
I kind of like that pick as well. And I actually agree that I think the Falcons are going to stay here at 4. But the guy that I wonder if they're going to be so attracted to that they just can't help themselves is Kyle Pitts.
Sure.
Right? And that's really the other name that I think we have to mention, is that if we're talking about truly best player available, best guy on the board at this point in the draft, it's either Sewell or it's Pitts. It's one of those 2 guys for everybody, I think. And Surtain's maybe the best defensive player or defensive prospect on the board, because no defensive players have gone yet. I think Atlanta's making this pick because I don't think that there's an obvious trade back candidate to move up for this pick unless the Patriots are going to do it, right? If the Patriots are going to pull the trigger and move up to 4, and maybe you can talk about it. But a team like the Washington football team, a team like Chicago, that's all the way back in closer to the 20 range, I don't think that that's going to be enough to move. If you're going to move from 20 to 4, you better give up a huge amount of picks to move that far down the draft. If you're Atlanta, right? You better be getting something like 3 or 4 future first round picks. If you're the Falcons, to move down 16 spots in the draft, I think that's what it is. Or Washington might be 19. So it might be 15 spots. It's somewhere like that. And I just don't think the Falcons, they're not going to get a player like Kyle Pitts. They're not going to get a player like Patrick Surtain 15 picks later. And I think that that's going to be a tough pill for them to swallow, unless a team like Detroit or Denver potentially is a sneaky quarterback team like that decides to change their mind and take one of these QBs. I just don't see the candidate to trade back if you're Atlanta. And I would even say going from 4 to 15 is a little bit risky as well.
No, at the end of the day, there's 3 elite tier players on the board: Sewell, Pitts, and Surtain, right? Like you said, the reason why I think they would go with Surtain over Pitts, or at least the reason why I would in that spot, is I think if you are going to go for it and make that run, you really have to be conscious of your entire roster composition, right? And you have Julio Jones, you have Calvin Ridley, right? You have Hayden Hurst. Do they want to get in shootouts with Tom Brady? Is that what they want? Because that's what they're going to have to do if they want to get to where they want to be, right down in that division. Do you want to get in shootouts with, maybe you want to get in shootouts with Jameis Winston? Honestly, that's a bad example.
I think the issue is, though, is they just hired Arthur Smith, an offensive-minded coach who had down in Tennessee. He had Jonnu Smith. He had a couple of tight ends there. I just feel like, as an offensive-minded coach with Kyle Pitts staring at you in the face, it's just so hard to say no to that, right? It's so difficult to say no to that.
So here's how I think you say no to it. One, Arthur Pitts comes from that Tennessee system, which is run heavy, and the one knock on Pitts, if it's a knock, is his blocking ability, right?
He's not an elite blocker. No, he's more of a guy he's more of a Travis Kelce level blocker than a Gronk level blocker.
I think, right. So I think Hurst is actually the perfect tight end for what Arthur Smith wants to do. I also think as I lose my train of thought that I think Surtain's got to be the pick. I lost my train of thought. I had another point.
That's okay.
I think Surtain's the pick. So if you agree, I think Surtain's the pick here.
I think they're going Kyle Pitts here, but I'll let you take Surtain here because at the end of the day, Kyle Pitts is going to be off the board here in a second anyway. So
so interesting. So I actually think he makes it one more pick.
So you think they're going Jamar Chase in Cincinnati?
No, I think they're going Penei Sewell.
That would be honestly, if you look at sort of the process, right? And if you look at the statistics, they would tell you that for a young quarterback, the most important thing is pass protection, not necessarily receivers, right? If you get a quarterback that has decent pass catchers, which I think in Cincinnati with Tyler Boyd and some of the other players that they already have on their roster, and maybe they can get another wide receiver in the second round because remember, it's such a deep wide receiver class, and maybe they can get a guy like an Elijah Moore or Kadarius Toney or Rondell Moore or somebody like that when they pick again in the second round. So I think the best player available is Kyle Pitts. The best wide receiver available is Jamar Chase, certainly. The best player available besides Pitts is obviously Sewell. I can see all different angles from this if you're Cincinnati. I think this is a really difficult decision to make. If Atlanta doesn't take Pitts off the board, you're basically picking between three really gifted players. Right. It's a difficult one to make.
So here's what I would say. It really shouldn't be complicated. You have not just a rookie quarterback, the guy you took first overall is returning from a torn ACL.
Yeah.
Protect that guy. It's that simple. If that guy doesn't have time to throw or he's not healthy enough to be on the field, it doesn't matter who you have as options. You need to make sure that guy's protected. You can get an elite offensive tackle. And then, like you said, there's so many options for pass catchers later in the draft. You're still going to get a very good player. I would go Sewell here. I think that's the pick. I know it like Surtain. I may be leaning a little more towards drafting for need, but again, I actually think Cincinnati's a team that if they play their cards right, they're not going to win a Super Bowl, but they can be competitive. And if Joe Burrow gets hurt, that goes right out the window. So I think the option, like the main focus has to be protecting Joe Burrow. I don't think you can worry about anything else until you know Joe Burrow's blind side is secure.
Yeah, I know. I actually agree with you on this one. You know, I always favor the offensive lineman anyways, but the main reason why is that everybody is, and I think Jamar Chase is a great prospect, and the allure of pairing Jamar Chase back with Joe Burrow after they had so much success in 2019 together, they already are connected at the hip. That's such a great kind of tandem to build on if you're Cincinnati for the next 5 to 10 years. But at the same time, we've talked all draft season about how deep this wide receiver class is. So what's the drop off bigger? Is Penei Sewell to, let's say, Liam Eichenberg or Jalen Mayfield or whoever you can have in the second round, or the wide receiver drop off from Chase to Kadarius Toney? And two different players, obviously, two different styles, but just in terms of the impact on the team, I think we go Sewell here. I'm always team pass protection. So this is a dream scenario if you're the Miami Dolphins.
And I really think they get it. Yeah. So the fall's done, right? We agree the fall's done. This is Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. Miami just got the best player in the draft at 6, which I think is pretty incredible. Maybe that might be hyperbole. Maybe Trevor Lawrence is the best player in the draft. But if Trevor Lawrence isn't the best player in the draft, then Kyle Pitts is.
At the very least, the best non-QB in the draft.
Yeah. So they get him at 6. That's an absolute steal for them. Now here comes the interesting, I think, part of this equation is what does Detroit do with this pick? Because they could take wide receiver here. They could take Jamar Chase, certainly staring at them now the way that we broke this down. That's a great pick for Detroit here at 7 at this point. But trading back a couple of picks with maybe a team that wants to target one of these quarterbacks and still being able to potentially get a wide receiver anyways is also attractive. I think this is where the Patriots start to pick up the phone about Trey Lance or Justin Fields, right? I think this is the point where Bill starts to feel comfortable with making this trade up. You're not going to trade up what San Francisco had to give up to move all the way up to 3. You're probably talking about 1 future first-round pick here in this deal. So really, I think the question is, and there's really an answer for Detroit, but at this point, it's probably Jamar Chase.
Look at this. Their needs bleed over to a second line. So let me throw 2 more options out there for you for Detroit. First off, I'm still not totally convinced they're out on a quarterback. I don't know that they view Jared Goff as a long-term solution and more so view him as a bridge. Right. And if Justin Fields gets to this point, maybe they really like him. They make the pick. Goff is the starter this year, and then you move on to Fields next year. I think that's a possibility. There's one other possibility, too. Yeah. What do we know about Dan Campbell? He's kind of nuts, right? He's kind of a lunatic, old school football, right? Remember the thing about biting the kneecaps off?
Is this J.C. Horn territory? Is that where you're going with this?
Kind of. Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
There's nothing those old school smash mouth football people, as one of them, speaking as one of them, there's nothing those old school smash mouth football people love more than a dominant inside linebacker. And I think Micah Parsons on the board, I think that's who Dan Campbell's going to want. I don't know how much say he's going to have, but I think Dan Campbell's going to pitch a fit here for the team to take Micah Parsons.
Right. The other question is teams like the Chargers, for instance, they're talking about moving up for a tackle at some point in this draft. So Sewell's already off the board. I'm not sure if they move up for Rashawn Slater, if he's worth it to them to move up to at this point, especially the way the board is breaking.
So are we doing trades? I thought we were.
I do want to have the Patriots stay at 15. I don't want to necessarily trade up and do anything like that. So I think it's really, does Detroit go rogue and take a guy like Micah Parsons or Chase? I think those are the two conversations we're having here.
So to me, it comes down to how much say does Campbell, Bruce Campbell have? Dan Campbell. Who's Bruce Campbell?
Yeah, I don't know. But Dan Campbell's
okay. So I think Chase, I mean, they love, since Calvin Johnson, right? They love those big body, physically dominant wide receivers.
Right.
Robert Jones, Kenny Golladay, like that. The chat, Chase versus Parsons, because I feel like we're both kind of into both.
Where you're going with Parsons, but I think at this point, at 7, to pass on Jamar Chase is a tough pill to swallow.
Okay, we'll go Jamar Chase then. We'll go Jamar. And I think Atlanta has the ammunition where they can afford underrated. They have him and DJ Moore, but boy, would it be nice. They really add another piece to that.
So really perspective, because I think we get wide receivers early in the draft don't necessarily move the needle as much for the
that. I mean,
8 and a 3rd round pick, you know what I mean, to move back to Carolina. So let's the other question that we have to ask ourselves.
And again, the purpose of this is, I'm just going to force it. The purpose of this is we're trying to see what happens if the Patriots don't trade up. If the Patriots just stay
what's going to happen with the first 14 picks ahead of New England? That's the idea here.
Are we taking Slater here?
Yeah, Rashawn Slater at 8.
Same thing I said about the Bengals. You got to protect the investment.
Yep. Exactly. So here at 9, I think that if Justin Fields is still on the board here, I think Denver's taking Justin Fields. I know your Drew Lock's one of your guys, but I truly feel like if this is the way the board shapes, if you're Denver and you waited all the way to 9, you didn't trade up, you didn't do anything too aggressive, and Justin Fields just falls into your lap, I mean, how do you say no to that? How do you say no?
Here's the thing I will add to this as it relates to the Patriots. If this situation were to play out, I am instantly calling John Elway, offering the 46th pick for Drew Lock. Instant,
the 46th pick
before they even report it or whatever. I'm going out and getting Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock actually overperformed last year, given the horrible situation he was put in.
He's got Tim Patrick. He's got Jerry Jeudy. He's got Hamler. I don't think it's a horrible situation.
Jerry Jeudy was hurt a good chunk of the year. He had no offensive line. I would call and try to get Drew Lock from the Broncos.
Okay, well, we're not giving. You can call and offer a 4th round pick for Drew Lock.
Maybe I got a little excited. This is J.C. Horn, right? They just need a corner. This is J.C. Horn.
I think this could be J.C. Horn. I still think that this is a spot where Dallas would love to trade back as well.
Sure.
If they could trade back for one of these teams going after Trey Lance, maybe this is where a team like Chicago or a team like the football team can make that trade. You know what I mean? And move to 10, because remember the Patrick Mahomes trade, Kansas City was 26 and they moved to 10 or 11. Same with Houston and Deshaun Watson. They were in the 20s. They were a playoff team the year before. They moved to, I think, 10 or 11 as well to draft Deshaun Watson. So at this point in the draft, with Trey Lance still on the board, I think that there's a very good chance, because if you're Dallas, you can probably trade back. Maybe you trade back up a couple of spots later on to make sure that you secure J.C. Horn. But I think J.C. Horn's still going to be on the board in, let's say, 15 through 20. I don't see him coming off before then. So at this point, maybe we make the JC Horn pick for them thinking that that's who they're going to go with anyways. But I think that the player that's going to get drafted in this slot is Trey Lance. I think whether a team will obviously trade up for that pick. And I think it will ultimately be the pick where Trey Lance goes.
Well, here's the thing. Washington's not going to trade with Dallas.
That's fair.
Is what's interesting.
So it could be Chicago. It could be New Orleans. It could be Pittsburgh. Yeah. That's a really good spot for him because he can sit behind Ben, right, for this year. And they're sort of, I wouldn't say similar, but, they're not completely different either in terms of their playing style, in terms of young Ben versus what Trey Lance is. That's a good idea. I don't hate it. They're an aggressive organization too.
And I realize I got that trade backwards, by the way, in the chat. We're rolling through the exercise here. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of what the Mahomes trade was. It was about this, right?
Yeah, Mahomes trade was a future first. Yes, that I believe it was that. I think they only gave up a third. I think it was their pick, the first and a third. I think that was the trade.
Boom.
Yeah.
So there we go. And oh, it automatically took him. Okay. Oh, because we weren't the Steelers. That's right, because they weren't. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the Giants doing? They could go a lot of different directions.
They could. So maybe the Giants, I think tackle, they could go Darrisaw at this point. It's maybe a few picks too early. I was thinking Darrisaw more in either for the Patriots or that Minnesota pick there at 14. Let's say that they don't go Darrisaw just for these purposes.
Yeah.
I think Micah Parsons could end up here in the Giants. They have some linebackers, but I do think that they miss right now that impact defensive player, right? That guy that kind of changes the complexion of your defense. I think Micah Parsons can be that sort of player for them. So I think Joe Judge gets a guy in Micah Parsons that is going to be an absolute game changer. Now, Joe Judge did coach receivers in New England, so maybe somebody like Devontae Smith is alluring to him at this point. I'm sure he's had some talks with Nick Saban in the past, and maybe he can call up Nick Saban and ask about those two guys, Waddle and Smith. But to me, I think the pick here is Micah Parsons. I think it's a good spot for them. I think that they need that type of player on defense. Their defense in New York with the Giants has been garbage for a long time at this point.
I agree with you. I really want to take Devonta Smith for them here. I do. He reminds me a lot of Odell. There's obviously the sort of Alabama connection, 1 degree of separation, Joe Judge, Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, all of that. But they have a bunch of good receivers, actually. They've built up a decent receiver room, right? They signed Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. You have Evan Ingram as well. They signed Kyle Rudolph. The only thing I'd say is they do only have Golladay for 1 year, right?
I believe so, but that's the one position that wide receivers, the Giants have actually done very well.
That's true.
With finding wide receivers that organization, because even a guy like you mentioned, Slayton, he was a day 3 pick, and he's a very good player for a day 3 pick, right?
Yeah.
That's a spot that they've been able to find talent at. So I don't know. I just think that they really need to change their defensive mentality and get somebody that's a true playmaker on defense. And I feel like that could be somebody like Micah Parsons. They label edge as a need. I think Micah Parsons can play a little bit of edge as well. So I think that's the pick that if I'm the Giants at this point, I go with Micah.
All right, this has to be a receiver. They're going with Jalen Hurts. I know they said yesterday they're not. They're going with Jalen Hurts. They got to get him some help. They desperately need a pass catcher.
Yeah.
I like Devonta Smith for him because they generally like the more traditional wide receivers.
They are a big analytics bunch there in Philadelphia.
That is true.
I think the speed of Jalen Waddle is going to pass those boxes for them, right? I think Devontae Smith being 166, all these things are those are turnoffs in analytic systems, right? You know, those are things that you look at and you say, oh, not for us. We don't want these outliers, so to speak.
Right.
So I think the Eagles, I think Jalen Waddle is a really nice pick for them here at 12. I think that makes a whole lot of sense based off of their sort of organizational approach of team building. They want guys that they can say are dominant college players with dominant measurables. And Jalen Waddle is one of those players. And Devontae Smith just isn't, unfortunately, as good as he is.
All right, so Jalen Waddle goes there. And then do they go back to back? Do the Alabama receivers go back to back?
I think they were going to go back to back at some point anyways, right? Like, I feel like they were either going to go back to back in that Detroit, Carolina, and Miami run, or they were going to go back to back a little bit later. So yeah, at this point in the draft, getting Devontae Smith is a pretty big steal, I would say.
So boom, there we go. And then Minnesota.
So here's a really interesting one, because if Minnesota goes Darrisaw here, which is, I think, a very good possibility because they definitely need offensive line help, it kind of leaves the Patriots in a trade back spot for sure.
No, because J.C. Horn's still on the board.
They could go corner. That's a fair point. Dallas would definitely be annoyed. The other tackle that I would mention really quickly is Elijah Vera Tucker from USC. He's the type of guy, Mike Risa noted that maybe he would be a Patriot target. Versatile, can play inside, can play outside, really good athlete, really technically sound player, very, very impressive on tape. But I think for Minnesota, they also could like Vera Tucker a little bit as well, because they are an outside zone heavy scheme. He's the perfect outside zone blocker, right? That he has that athleticism to jump off the ball laterally and move towards the line, parallel to the line of scrimmage, and make those reach blocks and things like that. Darrisaw, though, is definitely the cleaner prospect here. I actually think Minnesota would favor Vera Tucker in terms of stylistic preference in their scheme because of they're so zone heavy. I think Darrisaw is more of your power run blocker. So I go Vera Tucker here for Minnesota, but I could also be talked really easily into Darrisaw as well.
I think it's Darrisaw. I do. He's just a better, more NFL ready player right now. They've got to try to win under Kirk Cousins because they can't tank with that contract. So I think you with the more NFL ready player, I think it's Darrisaw.
All right, let's go Darrisaw. I like it. But that definitely, in my mind, I think that takes tackle off the board. I agree. Unless they're going to trade back here, and we said we weren't going to trade, but unless they're going to trade back here, I just can't justify Vera Tucker at 15. I think he's a good prospect. I think it's a prospect that they would probably get a good player out of for a while, but is he really a top 15 talent sort of prospect in this draft that changes what they want? Zaven Collins trading back and drafting him, I think, is still really attractive. J.C. Horn on the board is obviously extremely attractive as well.
I think it's J.C. Horn. I think that's got to be the pick. He's so similar, at least in terms of, ceiling to Stephon Gilmore and kind of what he can do in his prototype. And I think that's going to be the pick. They need a corner. They know they need a corner. You got to, I said this last week, or maybe I said it on Tuesday, that part of the reason they're in the spot they're in now is they were so good at planning ahead and already having the next guy in the building when it came time to move on from the guy before him.
It's the 2-year thing.
Right. They are staring at the possibility of having to replace both outside corners this time next year. If you already have J.C. Horn in the building, that just makes next offseason so much easier. You did a great job this offseason so far. Again, we predispose this on what happens if the Patriots don't trade up. So if you don't trade up, you don't get the quarterback. You're not going to reach for Kellen Mond here. You're not going to reach for Kyle Trask here, right? J.C. Horn just makes next offseason so much easier. So I would say Horn.
I like it. I think J.C. Horn's a great pick for the Patriots. I love that he came out and said that he's better than Patrick Surtain. I think that's hilarious. I think he's that alpha type of mentality. He's a guy that didn't back down from any competition in the SEC, including going up toe-to-toe with Kyle Pitts in some uncomfortable situations for J.C. Horn, right? He was moving around the formation with Kyle Pitts. Didn't care. Didn't care if he was inside. Didn't care if he was outside. I just think that he is such a Patriot corner, just a tough-nosed, hard-nosed press man, physical in every sense of the word. It's going to play the run, going to play the ball in the air like an alpha dog. I think that's a great pick for the Patriots. And if they do make that pick, we've talked a lot about Stephon Gilmore getting traded. Ian Rappaport has thrown out J.C. Jackson potentially getting traded as well. I think that there's still a scenario, and I know all the top 5 quarterbacks are gone at this point, but maybe they do position themselves on day 2 using one of their corners to get that quarterback that they like. Maybe it's Kellen Mond, maybe it's Kyle Trask. I don't know who exactly they would pick out of those guys, but I think that J.C. Horn, I don't know if anybody would be super excited about corner, but I feel like that's a great pick. Like, he's just a player that is a really, I think, a plug and play guy year 1. The Patriots use him as a third corner in year 1, have him play in year 2 as a starter. It's a perfect situation, like you said, to do the Matt Light to Nate Solder thing at cornerback, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So they need, I'm just going to finish this up because we were just doing the top 15. They need an edge. Jalen Phillips, sure. The Jets need everything. We'll give them what do the Jets need? A linebacker. We'll give them Jock. We'll give the Cowboys a corner. We'll give the Jags. What are we giving the Jags here? Rashad Bateman. How do you feel about Rashad Bateman and Trevor Lawrence or Elijah Moore? Who do you like more for them?
I like Rashad Bateman a lot more than Elijah Moore.
All right. We'll go, I agree with you. We'll go Rashad Bateman. I think that's it. All right. So now I will just save this so we can put it out on Twitter.
And make sure that we tell people that we did this.
I will, yeah.
Knowing that the Patriots were, or assuming that the Patriots were not going to trade up. That's
okay.
The equation. But I do think it is interesting that Denver picks Justin Fields at 9. We had Pittsburgh as the team that kind of lurking in the background that traded up for Trey Lance at 10. I do kind of like the fact that that's an interesting sort of thing, that the Patriots 9 and 10 from 15 is very, very doable. Right, that's not a Niners like trade up, right? If a guy like Justin Fields or Lance and they really feel good about both of those guys, if they make it there to 9 or 10, I mean, that's a call you got to make, right?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. There were a few situations there where logically the Patriots should trade up, but this is we're doing these as exercises. They're thought experiments,
right?
So we have to kind of stick to our guns here. All right, so. Here's what because I want to more so than me, because you study the prospects more than me, right? Yeah. Not that I don't study them. I just kind of want to test our knowledge here and see what we can
short.
See what we can do. You're right. I am the Felger Maz big board guru. No brag. But I want to see what happens if we handcuff ourselves. So
all right. Let's play.
Here's some of the options. I'm going to put this up to the chat. Do you want to see us do an all conference mock draft? Do you want to see us do a mock draft where we're handcuffed by position? Do you want us to do one based on athletic testing? I had one other really good one. I can't remember what it was.
I kind of like in a year, the athletic testing one I think is really hard because there's no combine, right?
Well, do you have the math bomb stuff? Can you pull that up quickly?
I could. And that's all really great. It could go one or two ways, right? Either the Patriots don't trust their hand times at the pro days and throw all the testing numbers out. Or in a year with such little tape and so much uncertainty, they just go with athletes, right? And just go with guys that are just high upside type of players. I don't know. It's an interesting question. I kind of like the all athlete one because they went with athletes last year with Duggar and Josh Uche.
So here's the deal here. I'm on their website right now, and you have it up too, right? Actually, I can pull it up in Excel. That might be even easier. So here's going to be the rule. We can only pick players, and so RAS score has to do with how they tested at the combine, right?
Yes.
We can only pick players who scored above a 9.
Okay.
So that's only a handful of players. But we can only pick players. So, Evan, I'm going to kind of trust you to tell us who that is. This one's going to be a little trickier, but we're going to give it a shot. Somebody said Nightmare. I do have an idea for Nightmare. And by the way, no trades. We're just going to fly through these. We're just having fun here.
Yes.
Okay. So we will be on the board at 15. So basically, Evan, who's the best elite tester from this class?
A first round prospect or just in general?
First round prospect. Like, we're still going to try to take guys where they should go. We're not picking based on athletic score, but the idea is who at each spot are the most athletic players on the board. So
JC Horn scored a 9.99.
Okay, so JC Horn's the pick here.
Yeah, almost a perfect athletic score for JC Horn. He's a great athlete and a great player on tape. So that's definitely why I like him a lot. If the Patriots have to settle for corner and whatever you want to call it, I think that's a really nice pick for them and JC Horn.
So we're still trying to do this for the Patriots. We're still doing it in mind with the Patriots. It's just we only have a limited number of players we can select from. So there is somebody, if he's not off the board, I think he is off the board. Joseph Osai from Texas is a guy that if they're going to look at testing, and he's gone. Okay.
And the Penn State guy too, Away. He had Jason Away, another edge prospect. He was a 9.92 on the RAST score as well. Baron Browning, your guy, way too early, but 9.9.
I wouldn't say way.
Are we talking about early. 46 right now? Sorry.
46, yeah.
Yeah. So the other guy, PFF always has him still on the board, right? So that's something that I think is
we can dance around that here with this,
because
we're already
I'm not
limiting
sure
ourselves.
if he'll actually still be there in the real draft, but Jermaine Davis definitely tested extremely well and is the type of player that the Patriots might look for at a linebacker. Try to still go with their size prototype, but get a little bit more athletic at that position. We did go corner and defense in round 1, so I don't know if they would go defense. So
here. That is the one thing I want to look up here. Let's see so Evan, guess who the most athletic quarterback is? The only quarterback to score above a 9. The only quarterback we can take with this handcuff.
Is it
Felipe Franks?
Oh my God, no.
So the point is, we can only take one quarterback, and he's going to be there in the 6th round. So, all right, let's go. Or actually, hang on.
So look at wide receiver real fast.
I was going to say, let's see who are the elite tested wide receivers.
So I guess Terrace Marshall from LSU already went. Earlier. So he was the guy that I was looking at as potentially here. He's got a lot of injury issues. Certainly not somebody I would trust in the 1st round. But at this point, if you could get him at 46 with the athletic upside, it's an appealing pick for those reasons.
I would say Rondale Moore qualifies too, everything you just said. Yeah,
Rondale Moore. Maybe Rondale Moore is the guy that we go here as well.
Well, he's not on the board, is he?
Is he gone as well?
He's gone, yeah.
So 46 is probably a little bit too early from Nico Collins. That's another player that tested extremely well. Obviously, Tony 9.0 out of 10 tested well.
What if they went tackle here? Because we've talked about going.
Yeah.
Is the kid from Texas still here? No, he's not.
Sam Cosme.
Yeah.
He did test really well, 9.99. Taven Jenkins, I don't know if he's still on the board. What about
he just went to pick before? Dylan Raduns tested very well.
And he's still on the board. So Dylan Raduns makes a whole lot of sense for New England too. The guy, he's not as tall or as long as Nate Solder, but he's got that athleticism. So the Patriots have gone in this direction before. There's some clips of Dylan Raduns running downfield to get it back into the play to block, where he looks like a tight end, right? He's really moving for a guy of his size. So I like that. Dylan Raduns, I think he's going to be a really good tackle in the league. Some people think he's going to go in the 1st round though. Daniel Jeremiah, I know, said yesterday that he might be a 1st rounder.
So again, what we're doing here, because I see some people just joining, we're kind of doing rapid fire mock drafts right now, we're handcuffing ourselves to a limited player pool just to kind of see what happens. We can only take players right now that scored better than a 9 in their RAS score. So that's athletic pro day testing.
Relative athletic score is what it's called. It's basically another version of Spark or some of those other testing metrics that you've probably heard of.
So what do we want to go with at 96? Now, is it too early for Nico Collins?
Probably not. No, not at 96. Nico Collins, I think, is sort of the forgotten wide receiver in this outside receiver class because he's somebody that didn't play last year. He had a great 2019, right? I mean, he had a really competitive 2019 for Michigan. Huge Senior Bowl week as well, especially practice week at the Senior Bowl. Really smooth operator at the line of scrimmage and tested extremely well. And the Patriots love that 3-cone time. 6.83, I think it was, or maybe it was 6.81. Really good 3-cone time, which tells you that he does have some lateral mobility for a guy that's 6'4". He's definitely a little bit looser than somebody like a N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry is a stiff, rigid player. I think that he's nothing like that. So we're going all athletes here, and we're doing pretty good, I would say.
I would say, if they go corner, tackle, wide receiver, and they get those 3 guys, it's certainly interesting. Now, I would like to get a linebacker here. I would like to see if we can get, why isn't it giving me linebackers? There it is. We do need a linebacker here.
We haven't taken a quarterback yet. I don't know which.
Well, remember, there's only one quarterback we can take.
Oh my God.
Based on the handcuff.
This is why you wanted to do this handcuff.
I didn't even know. I don't know how Justin Fields didn't score better than a 9. Honestly.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's fair.
So I'm looking at the linebackers here. I mean, we could take Jamin Davis if we wanted.
Jamin Davis is not going to make it here.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at, actually, no, who probably is here and tested or there's 2 guys actually. They're from the same school.
Is my guy Pete Warner still on the board?
So I was thinking Pete Werner or Baron Browning, and neither's on the board.
Yeah, so that the linebacker position looking for guys above 9 is difficult.
So there's only like 5 here.
Yeah, the edge prospects, really, it's basically, if you're looking for guys that tested that well, it's Baron Browning, Jermaine Davis, Micah Parsons, Pete Warner, Nick Neiman from Iowa. That could be somebody that we could talk about here. I mean, a little bit high, I think, for Nick Neiman.
Oh, actually, no, hang on. I got an interesting one here. Senior Bowl guy. Did he go? Yeah, so he's further down on the PFF, but I think 4th round, Ellerson Smith has a lot of upside as a specialized pass rusher.
Is
Maybe
Milton Williams still on the board?
Who was that?
Milton Williams from La Tech.
You want to make these the 2 picks? We'll go couple defensive linemen.
Yeah, let's do it, because I love Milton Williams. He's a little bit undersized, but he's got some heavy hands, right? He's just throwing those hands everywhere. I love watching players like that. These are 2 smaller school guys too. This is very Belichick. Very Belichick.
Well, that's kind of the whole point of this exercise. All right, let me pull up safety. Ooh, there's one safety I've wanted to get in a bunch of mocks, and we never did, and he qualifies.
Well, my boy Gillespie is still there, and I think he tested.
He is. I wanted Caden Stearns.
Caden Stearns definitely tested well. 9.59.
Yeah, he's off the board, though.
Okay.
And Gillespie's way down here, Evan.
Yeah, I don't know if Gillespie technically, I don't know if he tested or what, didn't test well enough for our. Yeah, so Gillespie had a terrible pro day, apparently. Tested a 6.03, which is not good. James Wiggins from Cincinnati is an interesting name here. Same with Derek Forrest, the other Cincinnati safety. Those 2 guys are really good athletes. That's pretty much it, though. Javon Holland, I'm assuming, is off the board already as well. So it's really Stearns, Holland, the 2 Cincinnati guys, or Tyler Coyle from Purdue is a strong safety prospect. Is James Wiggins still here?
James Wiggins is still on the board. So let's make Trags proud. So again, what we're doing here, if you're just joining us, we're handcuffing ourselves to kind of see what the draft looks like with a certain spec. We're only taking guys who had elite pro day testing and just kind of seeing what that might look like, because we do know Bill Belichick likes those testing numbers. And obviously they're so important this year with no pro day and limited tape. We never got a running back, did we?
We didn't. But I saw Kenneth Gainwell went like 97 or something like that. Crazy.
So if we can get Trey Sermon, might be off the board, but Elijah Mitchell and Chris Evans both fit here.
Chris Evans is a player that could definitely fit them. I'm not a big Chris Evans guy, but he tested extremely well. He has things that they would like about him in terms of his running style. 9.85, Michigan
Chris
guy.
Evans, let's do it.
Right.
And now let's make sure we get the quarterback.
These only are garbage, but everybody's got their own scout there with their own hand time, right? And the Patriots trust their hand times, and they trust their hand times. You know, that's something that I agree with. That the pro days I would throw them out, but maybe the Patriots like their hand times. I don't know.
So now, how about an interior offensive lineman? I'm looking here. I'm guessing. Oh, you know who we can get is Sedarius Hutchinson. I think would still be on the board.
So they don't. The database I don't think breaks out. Maybe it's guard.
You gotta do OG, yeah.
Okay, so I think Trey Smith is probably long gone. Sedarius Hutchinson, definitely an option. Ben Cleveland, I'm sure, is long gone. Jimmy Morrissey from Pittsburgh is another interesting name. He just reaches our threshold at 9.01.
Okay.
Let's look at the centers. Well, Creed Humphrey tested perfectly. I'm assuming Quinn Menarnez is gone.
He's gone, yep.
And Drew Dahlman from Stanford is the other option.
Oh, no, he's not. He's very interesting because he's very undersized, but he's multi-year starter, multi-year captain, son of a coach. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes for them.
Yeah, I kind of like that one.
All right,
I'm sold.
Let's go Dahlman then. And then
I think Dahlman's got the athleticism. He could play some guard if they absolutely need him to. Maybe he's like a Ted Karras type, right? You can play guard or center.
And then what do we want to take here with this last pick?
Are there any special teams guys we can take here? Like a Hilliard, it might be a special teamer. We got to sort.
Justin Hilliard's here, yeah.
We got to go with our 9.0s though, right? We're sticking to the all.
Well, that's the exercise. I mean, we basically made it to the end here.
Let's see if anybody. pops out scrolling through here that might be left. What about Jacob Harris from Central Florida? Did he get drafted yet?
Good one. I don't think he did.
Oh, okay. That would have been a good one. He's somebody that, just size speed prospect that checks every team's, measurable boxes. He tested out of the gym, he tested really well. Let's see here. Anybody else? Nobody else really jumping out that would be still available,
Did we ever get who tested? Ben Mason tested with a 9.
There we go.
Ben Mason. Boom.
There we go.
So this is, and then it'll finish up. And we'll put these on Twitter. I feel like
the only guy that we missed on that maybe we could have got in here was Baron Browning. But other than that, I think we did a pretty funny and good job of getting the all RAS team here.
Okay, so you want to do one? I have a couple more in mind. What time is it? I have a couple more in mind.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes, so we can do probably one more or two.
Okay.
Your screen is on the.
Yep. Hang on, I gotta go. Okay, so do we want to do all SEC or non-Power 5?
Non-Power 5 is interesting because Belichick took Kyle Duggar last year in the second round, so you know that the Patriots are looking at guys that are non-Power 5 guys. So even if the whole draft obviously isn't going to pan out that way, but maybe we could hit on a few guys that aren't a Power 5 player that maybe they would be interested. We did take Milton Williams last time as La Tech, who's not a Power 5.
Well, so here's what I think we do if we're doing non-Power 5. I think we give up a bunch of picks and trade up and get Trey Lance.
We could do that. We could also draft Zaven Collins, right? Tulsa, non-Power 5 school.
You want to do that? I'm just thinking, because are there 10 non-Power 5 guys we're going to take? We have 10 picks.
Probably not. That'd be hard for us to think of 10 guys. So okay, you got me. You know me with Trey Lance. I'm all for it.
Yeah. All right.
So Bill Belichick will be.
Try this. I'm gonna try to do this without an overpay, but I want to get it done. That worked. Okay. So we're going to take Trey Lance.
Non-Power 5, Trey Lance. We're off to a good start.
Actually, and then hang on. I know this trade works because I did it earlier today. Just to kind of move us back up the draft board here.
Are we going to trade back up for Zaven Collins? Because that would be sweet.
I don't know if we have what it takes to trade back up for Zaven Collins, but we can trade back up here.
Oh, because we already gave up 46.
Right, yeah. We're just going to do that. Just kind of move ourselves up a little bit and just one less pick we have to make. Okay, so non-Power 5, this is going to be interesting.
46, I think it's got to, or we don't have 46, right?
We don't have 46 now. We have 76. So this is the pick they should have had if not for the BS with the recording the Bengals. Oh.
Okay, so is Spencer Brown still on the board? Well, I don't think that's really realistic. We could also go Quinn Meniernes here.
Spencer Brown is not. Spencer Brown is on the board.
Okay, so Spencer Brown from Northern Iowa is a 6'8" tackle prospect with a perfect RAS, 10 out of 10. He tested, and this is pro day testing out of a small school, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But he had the best pro day of any tackle prospect in the history of Math Bomb's database, which I think goes back to like 1986 or something like that. So we're talking about like 40 years of data. Nobody tested better than Spencer Brown. 6'8" tackle, left tackle prospect, really athletic player. I think Bill Belichick is either going to want to take Brown or Meniernes at some point. He just loves taking these types of guys, right? Give me the guy that nobody's ever heard of. So either one of those guys is good with me, but I really like Spencer Brown a lot.
All right, so we're going to grab Spencer Brown, and then what's his name? The other tackle went the pick after.
Oh, Quinn Meniernes. He's a center.
Red Dunes,
yeah. He would be long gone at that point.
So now so we could take Milton Williams again.
Okay.
Could take Jalen Darden. Need a wide receiver.
I like Jalen Darden. Let's do it.
Let's take Jalen Darden here. All right. So we're sticking with the non-Power 5. Oh, we have another pick. That's right. So again, we could go Milton Williams is on the board. No, we just took a wide receiver. I think Milton Williams is the pick here.
Yeah, Milton Williams seems like the pick, unless we take David Moore out of Grambling State.
No, we already took.
We could take Ted Gowan. I mean, he probably won't be on the board at this point, but UCF is not Power 5, right? I'm not tripping.
No, they're the 6th. I still think we go Milton Williams here.
I love Milton Williams, but Ted Gowan is a long potential man corner. I think he's got a lot of flaws. I think he's a little bit slow. I don't love him, but that's a player that does check some boxes, but I love Milton Williams.
Right. I want to see if we can keep it a little on track here.
Yeah, Milton Williams.
Let's go Milton Williams. We could have taken, so some people were saying Brady Christensen, but we took Spencer Brown, obviously.
Right.
A little bit ago. So next up, I don't know, what we're going to look, maybe running back, maybe safety.
Jermaine Davis.
Davis. So we do have Elijah Mitchell as an option. We do have, where's that? Christian Uphoff. We do have Christian Uphoff.
There's some good look at we took a DT already, right? Derek Barnes is power 5.
Oh, actually, I know who'd be an interesting pick here. We didn't take a running back yet, right?
No.
What about Jarrett Patterson?
Okay.
If he's not, he's gone.
He's gone. That would have been a good one.
That would have been a good one.
Elijah Mitchell from Louisiana is interesting at this point, right? I mean, you're 177. You're throwing yards.
All right, we'll go Elijah Mitchell here. And then who else do we got? We could take David Moore. We could grab another lineman.
Yep.
We could take Tonga too.
I think David Moore is an interesting pick. Like, they love guys that are just like gonna blow people over, right? They want those big, powerful guards.
So there's that. What else? What else do we got here? What else did we need? If you want to double up, because we've always talked about doubling up on quarterbacks.
Yeah,
we've never done it. Oh, there's none left. Of course.
Wait, is Felipe Franks just like not in the database?
No, he went already.
Oh my gosh.
He goes in the 6th round he went in the 5th.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, Ian Book went 176.
Lord help us all.
So I mean, we could go with Uphoff. It's probably a little early for him.
Yeah.
We could go with any corners. I don't know a ton about any of these corners. Really.
Name more like a name I've heard than a name I know anything about. Malcolm Coons from Buffalo. Khalil Mack, right? They've made some edge prospects in the past. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility that one of their edge guys could hit. Scroll down a little bit more to see if there's anybody else here.
I don't hate Teron Jackson, but it's probably early. Let's go with Kuntz.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. We're doing pretty good for the handicap here.
That's why I like doing this. Like, it gets interesting.
Yeah. This one's gonna be tough. I don't.
Oh, no, I already know who we're taking here.
Okay, I like it.
We've taken him like 5 times.
Oh, Riley Cole
or Grant Stewart. I like Grant Stewart. You're a Riley Cole guy.
Either one.
Let's take Riley Cole. We always take Grant Stewart. Let's take.
All right, Riley Cole. It is good. Senior Bowl. So if the Patriots are paying attention, which they usually are.
So there's Evan. If you'll humor me, there's one more mock I want to try, and we can fly through this. And I think the people will really like this one. What I'm going to do.
I liked our all athlete mock the best.
That was a good one. And again, this is like what if you ever want to get really into the draft, this is kind of what I do to sort of like one of the ways I learn prospects is I'll just run these and kind of look guys up as I go. And it's a way to expand your knowledge. So here's what I want to try though. This is going to be fun. So these are the settings we use to get the most realistic draft, right? I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And we're not really going to learn anything here, but we're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes.
Do we get Trevor Lawrence at 15? That is, I've done this once where I got Trevor Lawrence at 15. Christian Darrisaw, first overall pick. Yeah. All right.
What?
Trevor. So here's the first, again, all random. Nobody's drafting for need. None of that. Christian Darrisaw, Micah Parsons, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Jamar Chase, Kwity Paye, Zach Wilson, Jock, Barmore, Pitts goes 10, Waddle, Sewell, Bolton, Molden.
Nick Bolton and Elijah Molden go.
So do you want to take Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence, Evan?
No, I want to take Trevor Lawrence.
All right, we're going to take Trevor Lawrence at 15. There we go.
Best quarterback process since Andrew Luck falls to 15.
And we didn't even have to trade up for him. By the way, Stone Forsythe just went. All right, who do we got? Ooh.
Devontae Smith, J.C. Horn,
Smith or Surtain? What do we want to do here? This is tough. We deserve, for all the hours of serious grinding mock drafts we've done, I think we deserved this. We earned this. If you're just tuning in, I flipped all the settings backwards from the most realistic possible mock. So it's the complete other way around. Do we go Surtain or Smith here?
Good point in the chat. Devontae Smith did have the Julian Edelman hoodie on the other day. I think we got to give the nod.
All right, good point there, Chris. All right. And look, maybe we'll get Surtain at 96 the way this is going. Who knows? He's still there. Samuel Jr. went ahead of him. He's still there, Evan. Oh, we just missed him. All right. Tevin Jenkins goes 95.
I have Greg Newsome here. Really versatile player. Play multiple schemes. Play some man coverage. Play some safety. Gets injured a lot. That's Greg Newsome in a nutshell.
Just think, though, if we'd gone with Surtain before, we could have taken Tony here. Yeah, I think it's Newsome here. I think that's about right.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Newsome has a lot of injury problems. I'm not saying he's going to go 96, but falling out of the first round is definitely possible.
Well, sure. I mean, there's a lot that's happening here that's,
we did get Trevor Lawrence.
We did get Trevor Lawrence. Kellen Mond goes 119.
At this point, you can take Kadarius Toney, and we can get Devontae Smith and Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, those two. Yeah, I think that's got to be it.
Should we take we took a tackle, right?
I don't think we took a tackle.
Okay,
we took Toney, Newsome, Devonta Smith, and Lawrence. So do we want to take a tackler? Like Ronnie Perkins is a really good edge defender. Joseph Ossai too.
I like Liam Eichenberg here. I think
we'll go Liam Eichenberg. They never, most unrealistic thing happening here is them taking a Notre Dame lineman. Oh, we still could get Ronnie Perkins or Ossai. We could get Najee Harris here at 139, Evan.
All right, let's do it.
You want to go Najee Harris here at 139?
This is the best draft anybody's ever had. I love it.
let's get a defensive player.
We don't get the mock drafts right. All right, we got this mock draft right.
I can't wait for somebody to come on Twitter and say that, Najee Harris is too early. Don't take a running back there.
No, you can get your guy Ronnie Perkins now. I like Ronnie Perkins. But
I like Ossai too.
I like Ossai a lot too. He's long, lanky, athletic. Just kind of scraping the surface of what he could probably be. I think Perkins is more of that finished hand fighting technician at this point.
So one thing I want to look up here. So of all the nonsense that's happened, Jamin Davis finally went early.
Wow. That's because we put on the randomness. So he went at the right point. Let's go Ossai. I like him.
Let's go. I like Ossai.
They need some guys with some length at that spot. So
did we take a safety yet? Somehow
Hamza, I don't know how to say his last name, but he's really good.
Talanoa Hufanga, but he's like a box safety. Do we want like a deep safety?
Yeah, Jacoby Stevens, Richard LeCount here,
Richard LeCount. All right. Most realistic pick of the whole draft.
Yeah, right. We actually got Richard LeCount at the right spot.
Do you want to pair, I guess, Ronnie Creed Humphrey, though.
Great athlete. 10 out of 10 in the RAS database.
Do we want another edge rusher? Do we want a center?
I don't know what they would do with the center. That's the thing, right? Like David Andrews just signed for 4 years. Like, what do you do with the center at this point?
All right, we'll grab Ronnie Perkins here.
Yeah.
And it just sucks because I'd love to close this with a kicker, and we can't do that.
We can write him in if you want.
We could. Let's see who's here.
Pat Freiermuth.
I mean, that's interesting. Jalen Darden's still here. You like where it took 2 receivers.
Yeah, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I do. Davion Nixon, interesting pick. I don't think, or Tyler Shelvin. I don't think we took a DT yet.
I don't think we did. I like Shelvin. You want to go Shelvin here?
Shelvin. He's like poor man's Vince.
Okay, so with it jacked,
greatest draft ever,
all the way up to random. We got Trevor Lawrence, Devonta Smith, Greg Newsome, Kadarius Toney.
How did we only get an A- for Kadarius
Wait, are you serious? We got a C+ for Najee Harris at 139.
Oh, running backs don't matter. PFF hates running backs.
For Shelvin, dude.
That's because PFF hates running backs.
Well, I hope everybody. Did you enjoy that, Evan? Did you enjoy that?
I did enjoy that one. That one was a little fun. I even smiled. So that's how you know.
All right, so
let's wrap this.
Yeah, I'll throw these all up on Twitter if you want to see them.
Yeah, we can have some fun with it on Twitter with you guys. Again, I said this at the beginning of the show, bears repeating. Tuesday night, we're doing our final real mock draft, not
no Trevor Lawrence at 15.
No messing around. What me and Alex both think after a whole lot of research and hours spent, I can think people can probably tell if you look at our first mock draft and look at our sixth one or our final one on Tuesday. We probably look a lot more tired now than we did a couple of months ago. So at that point, we can go in and do our final mock draft again Tuesday night for our final Patriots 7-round mock draft, realistic mock draft.
Yes, this is the final draft, as it were.
Yes, absolutely. So that's what we're going to do on Tuesday night. Then Alex and I will be back at multiple points, hopefully, during draft weekend to break down what the Patriots actually do. And that will be a whole lot of fun as well. And we will get to every pick that the Patriots made here on the podcast next weekend. We will break that player down. If I haven't watched tape on him already, I will definitely watch tape on him once they make the pick. So Tuesday night, live mock draft. Next weekend, we will figure out plenty of time to get to all of the picks that we can in terms of every pick the Patriots make. Trevor Lawrence fell to 15. It was a miracle. Everybody can celebrate now. We finally got our Tom Brady successor. Now, Tuesday night, the real thing, final mock draft dress rehearsal. Come tune in with us then. And thank you all so much, everybody in the chat, everybody that's done all these mock drafts with us, had a little bit of fun with us there at the end. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you all on Tuesday.